Welcome back, everybody, to the Week 17 edition of the Audible podcast. I am here with Michael Overly. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's been a long week.
Yes, sir.
New Year's coming. Playoffs are coming.
They are. Gosh, it's insane to see how many teams are still in the running for the playoffs right now. Like, it makes for great football these next 2 weeks.
Including Chicago. We have two scenarios, but they're far-stretched, for sure. But two scenarios.
So you're saying there's a chance?
There's a chance.
Okay.
There's a chance.
That's all you got to hear. You probably hear that I'm a bit under the weather right now. This right here, this podcast, is my flu game. All right? So we're going to make the most of it. So we're not going to talk too much about last week. We'll dive into this week and talk about what happened last week as we go through the previews for this Week 17 games. We'll start with the Island games right now. Island games being the primetime games. We have a Saturday night getting us ready for playoff football, as we've had Saturday night for past week now. The Detroit Lions going to the Dallas Cowboys, with the Cowboys having a 5.5-point favorites. How are you feeling about this game?
See, I know that they have like a +6 or +7 spread, right?
5.5.
5.5. I really think this is a pick'em. It just really depends on what kind of Detroit team you're going to get, what kind of defense from Dallas you're going to get. Those are the two biggest factors. I think Goff, even though despite the past few weeks he's been a little turnover happy, he still doesn't have a lot of turnovers overall for the year. Yeah. I think he's playing great football. He's spreading it around. The rookie, Sam Laporta, looks phenomenal. I think he'll only progress. I think that's also the weakest spot of the Dallas defense is the middle of the field, tight end position. So I think this is a pick'em. I like Dallas with a slight edge just because quarterback play is slightly better, wide receiver class is slightly better, and defense is slightly better. So I'm going to go Dallas here. I want to take them at 5.5. I take them -3 probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel you right there. I'm going to roll with Dallas as well. You know how much I love Detroit, but they're coming off a big emotional high after winning the North, first time in 30 years. First time the North has ever been won, because it's a newer division. The division's all changed in 2002. But Dallas is also 7-0 at home this year. You know, they have not lost a game at home. They're playing at home. This is their home stretch. And on top of that, they have scored over 100 points more than their opponents at home this year. I do think Detroit has the best chance to get them at home with their high-powered offense. Jameer Gibbs has come on as of late. All of their rookies this year have done phenomenal. When we were kind of bashing their picks early on in the year, we said, You know what? Like, Jack Campbell, first-rounder. Jameer Gibbs, first-rounder. You're taking Laporta. Dalton Kincaid's still on the board. And, hey, it just proves to show why we're not the coaches, why we're not the scouts, you know?
Right.
They clearly have the right people doing their job, so I think Detroit's going to put up a fight, but I will take Dallas at home right here. Probably the last home game Dallas is going to get, because they're probably going to have to go on the road in the playoffs, which is tough for Dallas because they lose a lot more on the road.
Yeah. And before we get into Sunday's games, we'll talk a little bit about Thursday. Joe Flacco.
Oh, my God.
Like, I know he's thrown quite a few picks, probably 1.5 a game. But he's also got 13 touchdowns, and he's averaging over 300 yards a game. And he did it again versus a very, very, very stout Jets defense.
Yes, sir.
Without Amari Cooper as well. So, yeah. I think the Browns are going to be someone to keep your eye on in the playoffs. They could make a slight run. Do they get to the Super Bowl? I don't know. Joe Flacco has experience, yes. It's just those big games, anything really can happen.
Yeah.
The Browns just played really well. You, of course, got problems on offense. Quarterback situation, offensive line for the Jets. But, gosh, the Browns just look so good.
Browns do look damn good right now. Obviously, their defense is leading the way. Myles Garrett's getting sacks every time he gets to the ball. He's killing it. But Joe Flacco is the story of the year right now. Obviously, he's the only one that can compete with DeMar Hamlin right now for comeback player of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And granted, like Joe Flacco, he just came off the couch, and DeMar Hamlin came off the gurney. But Joe Flacco, how do you even begin to describe how hard what he's doing is? Like, He literally came off the couch. He was asking. He said, "Jets, do y'all want me? We know Aaron is down." Can you imagine where the Jets would be right now?
Right.
If they had Joe Flacco playing like this the entire year, they'd be a playoff team. They'd be a Super Bowl contender, most likely.
Yeah.
You know, that's about the same stats we assumed Aaron Rodgers would get, with less picks, of course. But Joe Flacco's been a gunslinger. And honestly, I don't ever remember this man being this way in Baltimore. He was never a gunslinger in Baltimore. He was a methodical game manager where he would go on runs. Obviously, the 11 touchdown, 0 interception run to the Super Bowl, most notable. But other than that, like, he was very much like a Jared Goff type of quarterback.
Yeah, I could agree with that. And I think just now with him just coming in, learning a new system, just kind of wanting to kind of find that fire or excitement again. He's playing not careless, but he's playing freer. And I think that does lead to a little bit more turnovers. But that also leads to just sometimes good quarterback play when you're getting a 15-year veteran.
Yeah.
So I really like the Browns, what they're doing. They could be really scary with their defense.
They're not a team I want to see.
Thursday kind of surprised me, 37 points up against the Jets defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ooh, excuse me. Joe Flacco, hope you get comeback player of the year. I love you to death. I hope you do well, but if we meet you in the playoffs, hate to put the old dog down, but we got to do what we got to do. Go Flock. Then we'll move on to Sunday's games now. Now, we're going to start off with the biggest game of the week. Obviously, probably the number one team going up against the 2 or 3 team in the league right now. Baltimore Ravens playing the Miami Dolphins. Baltimore is 3.5-point favorites right now. How you feeling about this game?
This one's a hard one to pick. I mean, you got the Ravens on a 5-game win streak, highest in the league, only ahead of the Browns and the Bucks.
We won 9 of our last 10.
And then you've got probably my number one vote for MVP, Tua, versus the best. I wouldn't say the best, but probably the 3rd best defense in the league.
Best defense.
I think Browns and maybe the 49ers got you edged a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I think this is going to be a great matchup. It's always tough. What I look at, because I have no other really comparison this year, is last year's Miami Ravens game. You guys jumped ahead really early, fell apart late. Mm-hmm. I don't really see that happening. I think it's a close game. I would take the Ravens by a slight edge.
Okay, that's about what Las Vegas sees it as right now with the 3.5-point favorites. A few facts I want to throw out there. For Ravens fans especially, you're going to love hearing these. So, obviously, Miami has a hard time beating winning teams. Last week was their first win against a winning team, and beating the Cowboys barely with 5 field goals, right?
Yeah.
This week, they have Baltimore Ravens, 12-3 right now. We have 7 wins against winning teams, where those wins were 14 points or more. And they have 7 wins. No team in NFL history has more than 5. Aside from the Baltimore Ravens, they have a chance to do it again right here, make it 8. On top of that, they have led at the 2-minute warning in the 4th quarter every single game this year. The only other 2 teams to ever do that in NFL history, the Miami 72 Dolphins and the 07 Patriots. So keep that in mind. Technically, if you're taking away the fluky Colts game, the 9-drop game in Pittsburgh, and the weird game in the Browns, we're undefeated. Aside from that, obviously, Zay Flowers right now is questionable. Kyle Hamilton is questionable. Those are 2 very important factors heading into this game. Excuse me. But right here, I'm looking at the winning ingredients for this is we have to contain Tyreek Hill. You know, Jalen Waddle is out this game, right? He's been declared out. It's official. So when you have Hill without Waddle, he's been getting 15 targets and 14 targets in the 2 games that Waddle has missed, right? I'm counting last week's game because Waddle got hurt very, very early on, right? Without Waddle, the offense is clearly going to be funneled by probably another MVP contender in Tyreek Hill, who I think probably should be MVP because when Hill is out, I mean, that team is different. But the thing the Ravens need to do is we can't take our foot off the gas. We've never trailed by more than 7 points the entire year. right? But the way we let teams back in is we start playing conservatively. We start running on first and second, throw on third. We start doing the things that every other team does, and it's clear and proven that when you keep your foot on the gas, you get more points, you get more wins. So don't let them get back into this game. Last year we played them, we were up by 21, and they came back and beat us in the fourth quarter with like 7 seconds left. It's going to be a huge game. I hope Kyle Hamilton can play. Prayers up. I know he's got a knee injury. It doesn't sound too serious. He'll be back soon. All right. It is for the number 1 seed. I'll say that. If the Ravens win, they lock it up. And if Miami wins, they have to win out, obviously, to get it. But it's a huge game, no matter what. Anything you got to say about that?
No, I mean all your points are spot on. I mean, Ravens are playing great football. I mean, last week against the 49ers showed it 33-19. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a tight first half, but you guys ran away in the second half. You guys dominated. It's just hard to contain Tyreek Hill because, I mean, nobody matches his speed. That's the biggest thing. He's just a good route runner. I agree with him being your priority is the best way to win this game.
Yeah. I will say it is a crime that this game isn't flexed into Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I would say that too. Sunday night, Monday night, whatever. This needs to be a primetime game.
Because right now, our Sunday night game is the Packers and the Vikings.
Which, I mean, I
Jordan
get...
Love versus Jaron Hall.
I get a little, but, I mean, that division is just not really that great. I mean, Lions are really the only good team there. Jordan Love has been playing good football. As of recently, he has like 3 or 4 bad weeks, but yes, this should be the Sunday night game.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll hope to start Sunday off with a banger. Next game we have on here is the absolute opposite of a banger. We got the 49ers going to Washington, playing the Commanders, where the 49ers are 13.5-point favorites on the road.
I'd take them at 13.5. I mean, just because, Washington... I only won't go that high just because any given Sunday. But the Commanders' offense is a stall most of the time. I mean, they can put up some points, but they also turn the ball over quite a bit. Probably going to get Sam Howell because they named Jacoby Brissett as the starter, but now he's dealing with a hamstring issue. So, I mean, either or. Yeah. It's hard against this 49ers defense. They're especially got bullied last week in the second half. They're going to look to make a statement against a weaker team. Brock Purdy still is good. He had 4 picks last week, but I think I only give him 2. His fault. 49ers are going to run away with this, whether it's early or whether it's late. I like them at 13.5.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the 49ers are just going to be pissed off from what happened last week. Ravens went into their building, absolutely embarrassed them. And, they're not going to take that well. They're still the class of the NFC. I still expect them to get the number 1 seed and roll through to the NFC Championship. And I'd love to see some kind of rematch with them and the Eagles or something along those lines. But, yeah, the 49ers are absolutely phenomenal. Brock Purdy, the way he spoke in his press conference after the game, he said, you know what? Times like this, everyone has bad games. You got to look yourself in the mirror, see what kind of a person, what kind of a man, what kind of quarterback you are. That's exactly how you want your quarterback to respond.
Exactly, yeah.
So I love everything that he's doing. I do think he will respond. And I do think he's going to respond against the worst defense in the entire league. I think it's going to be a failure if he doesn't score 35-plus points, but I also don't think that he won't. Hopefully Jacoby Brissett or Sam Howell, whoever starts because of injury or whatnot, I think they'll have decent success, but it's not going to be close in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think 35-14, something like that.
Yeah, I can see that. Next game we have is actually kind of an interesting one. We got the Raiders going to the Colts, where the Colts are 3.5-point favorites.
So, this one's a little hard because, Colts play decently when they're not really expected to. They got a good matchup here, except the Raiders D-line is pretty good, especially with Max Crosby on the end. But I do like the Raiders here. I think ever since that John Gruden got fired, the team had some kind of spark. They played really well last week against the Chiefs, especially their defense with 2 defensive touchdowns. If they can beat the Chiefs, I think they can beat the Colts. They just got to play smart football, good football, and they could win it. What's the spread on this?
3.5 in favor of the Colts.
Yeah, I like in favor of the Colts. I'd take Las Vegas plus 3.5. I think they're going to win this game, so that's good.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm actually going to go with the Colts in this one. I believe Michael Pittman should be back for this game. Gardner Minshew's been having a career year in the AFC South Championship because all 3 teams are tied right now in record. And I'm a big fan of home teams, but also a big fan of home teams that have a lot to play for right now.
Yeah.
You know? Obviously, the Chiefs, if you watched that game last week against the Raiders, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And it kind of felt like the football gods were like, you know what, we're giving you all your bad luck in one game. You know? And as much as I love to see it, I don't think it's going to last for the Chiefs much past this year. I think they'll be fine in future years. But the Raiders, their defense has been stellar. But I do think even with Patrick Mahomes leading the Chiefs, the Colts probably have a better offense right now. Just because they have Jonathan Taylor. They have Zach Moss. They have Michael Pittman. They have Alex Pierce. They have Gardner Minshew playing very good ball. And Shane Steichen's system is a very good system. Probably, he's the Coach of the Year candidate. I don't think he's going to win it because I think Stefanski should win it. But I think the Colts just have more to play for. I expect them to win this game.
Yeah, that's a pretty good take. I like that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if either team wins. I think the biggest factor is getting the run game going. So I think whichever team gets that going the best or the quickest takes it out here.
Yeah, I do think Antonio Pierce should stay the head coach of the Raiders.
Yeah, he's done pretty solid. Great culture. The past few weeks, I think they're all hyped. So yeah,
I think the most worrisome part about this game for the Raiders right now is Aiden O'Connell, Mr. AOC. He didn't complete a pass past the first quarter last week, which is you're not going to win many games like that. You got away with one against the Chiefs of all people, who was ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it's not going to happen every week. You're going to have to put up some more points this week.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Next on the docket, we got the LA Rams traveling to New York to face the Giants. The Giants are 5.5-point underdogs. I'm going to go with the Rams right here because I think the Rams right now, one of the best teams in the NFC.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration. Sean McVay has these guys rolling, and Matt Stafford is playing like a top 5 quarterback right now in the league. Excuse me. Obviously, Puka Nacua is having a career year. It's his first year. But he's having a career year for anyone, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, obviously, he's breaking records as a rookie.
Yeah, even breaking records as a rookie, those yards and those stats are still among top 8 in the league.
Absolutely.
I like the Rams. I'm going to take the Rams, but I really, 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 really hope that Tyrod Taylor and the Giants can pull this out. We need the Rams to lose out. That's our scenario for the Bears. So I'm always going to hope against that, but I think the Rams are going to win. They just have the better offense, the better passer, the more experienced passer. Yep. They got Aaron Donald who can disrupt games. I like them to win by plus 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be more than that, but I'm just hopeful. But plus 3 for the Rams.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I like that. I just think the Rams, obviously, Aaron Donald's been an absolute monster this year, even though he doesn't have the sack total that we're expecting to see from him. He's taking on double teams, triple teams, all that stuff. And that's letting their 2 third-round rookies, defensive tackles, absolutely create havoc, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're not good, but they're looking a whole lot better with Aaron Donald next to him. I think I could look decent with him.
Yeah, and the Giants got the worst offensive line in the league. I mean, 77 sacks. That's crazy. Tyrod Taylor is a little more mobile, so I think that helps a little bit, but it's just kind of a mismatch.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next here we have the New England Patriots going to Buffalo to face the Bills. The Bills are 14-point favorites right now.
I don't like them plus 14, only because, I mean, the past few weeks, it's been close games for the Bills, even against not very exciting teams. I mean, Easton Stick and the Chargers, I mean, 24-21 or 24-22. New England's defense is way better. I mean, held the Chargers, who kept it close against them, to 6 points with Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
If they can play well, I think it'd be a close game, but obviously the Bills are just better overall. I mean, obviously Josh Allen better than Zappy, Stephon Diggs better than their whole wide receiving class. I like the Bills plus 7, but I don't like them two-digit score just because of the New England defense.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think New England has kind of put it on recently. They won last week against, who was it, the Broncos?
Mm-hmm.
And they had a last-second field goal with Ryland hitting that game winner. But also, the Buffalo Bills, they haven't been necessarily impressive, aside from their one game against the Dallas Cowboys, which was not a good game for Josh Allen by any means. He didn't even throw for 100 yards that game. You know, that was all James Cook running the ball for 250 yards and absolutely demolishing.
Yeah.
The
I don't
Dallas
think
Cowboys.
either quarterback ran or threw for 100 yards.
Yeah,
that
it was a
game.
weird,
That was
weird game.
Weird game, yeah.
But also, if you look at Stephon Diggs' total this year, at least in fantasy, this is just a stat I saw, he has not been above the wide receiver 50,
Wow.
except for one game in the past, 8 games.
Wow.
And I believe the highest he got was, wide receiver 17. Take that how you will. Obviously, fantasy doesn't really equate to whatever's happening. But Gabe Davis did have a great game last week, so he is marked in for a goose egg this week because he cannot have 2 good games in a row. So I do think the Patriots have a good shot to cover, but I just think the Bills are going to win this game because why wouldn't they? It's at home. You got to put the Patriots away. Come on, Sean McDermott.
Yeah.
Let's get Bill Belichick fired before the season ends.
Yeah. I mean, Bills they're just very talented. Yeah.
And Josh Allen has 40 touchdowns this year.
Yeah.
I mean, plus 4. I think 48 total. Wow. There's 2 games left. Next game right here, we have the Tennessee Titans going to Houston. Houston is 4-point favorites. I might take Tennessee here. And I might take Tennessee here because of Nico Collins and Tank Dell being out. You know? With their top 2 weapons out, with their ground game not really producing much, even with C.J. Stroud coming back off of a concussion, it's going to be hard to rely completely on, Dalton Schultz and Noah Brown this game. Those might be some fantasy sleepers if you're in the championship dealing with injuries. Obviously, they're going to get funneled the ball because there's no one else to throw it to. But the Tennessee Titans, clearly, they have a great running game. And I don't know if you remember, but Derrick Henry is playing in Houston where he averages 200 yards rushing in Houston. I looked it up earlier in the week. Derrick Henry versus Houston for his career has 1,400 yards.
Wow.
Just against Houston. And 13 touchdowns.
Wow. That's crazy.
I don't know why, but that man, he sees the Texans and he just goes off.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It looks like Will Levis is expected to start right here. They're just a little healthier. They have more weapons. Their defense has been coming on as of late. That's why I'm going to take the Titans in this.
I'm going to go the other way, just because I think it's going to come down to QB play. I think both defenses are pretty similar. It's hard to weigh it on that. Singletary, past couple weeks, has come about. Maybe it's because he's getting a little more load because Stroud is out.
He's getting a bigger load.
Yeah. And then... so I think with him coming on, and then I think they'll continue to use him a little more, especially to protect Stroud, especially with the weapons being out. But I also think that we've seen the Texans without Nico Collins, without Tank Dell, without those other receivers, and Dalton Schultz, Noah Brown, they've stepped up in the passing game. I think that Schultz is going to be Stroud's favorite target. I think that's the Titans' biggest weakness is tight end. I think Stroud is going to squeeze this out. They have something to play for with a three-way tie on the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they squeeze it out. I don't take them +3 or -3 or whatever. It's a pick 'em +1, -1. But I think the Texans squeeze it out.
I think it's a closer game than the 4-point spread, but yeah. I agree. It's going to be close. Next game we have here is kind of a barn burner. Got the Arizona Cardinals going to Philly, where Philly is 12-point favorites. I honestly don't know if Philly can beat anyone by 12, just because I think they can win. They just keep it close every single game they play. So I might take Arizona with the spread, but I'm not taking them to win. I think Philly wins this game.
Yeah.
Looks like Hollywood Brown just got put on IR. So right now their top wide receivers are Michael Wilson, Rondale Moore, Greg Dortch.
I mean, you got Trey McBride, which
who's been a stud.
He's definitely coming about as one of Murray's favorite targets this year, especially the last few weeks, like 3 or 4. I really like McBride. I think he gets the most targets this game, if I'm honest. Philly, their defense has so much talent everywhere.
Yeah.
But they just can't put it together. They get scored on a lot. I mean, they lost to the Seahawks in a shootout, basically, with Drew Lock playing. So I think if you can get good play out of Kyler Murray, it's going to be a close game. I pick the Eagles to win, but not -12.
Okay. Yeah, I totally see that. I honestly don't want to spend too much time on that game just because Eagles are a better team.
Yeah.
Regardless of how they've played, how close they've been this entire year, Arizona's not winning anything this year. You know,
it could easily be a blowout game.
Even though I will say, Arizona does have a win against the Eagles, and I believe they also have a win against the Giants. So, them against the NFC East has been pretty solid. Eagles are a different story, though. Especially at the end of the year. Eagles have to put it together somehow. I think the Eagles, honestly, like I said about the Niners with Commanders, where they need to put up 35 points, if the Eagles don't put up 4 touchdowns on this game, it's a failure.
Yeah.
You know, you guys need a get-right game. You lost 3 in a row, and then you barely beat the Danny DeVito bench, Tyrod Taylor-led Giants.
Yeah.
Put up some points.
Yeah, totally agree.
Next, we got another NFC South matchup. We got the New Orleans Saints going to Tampa Bay to face the Buccaneers, where the Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites. And oh boy, give me the Bucs. I love the Bucs right now. They're humming. I mean, Baker Mayfield just came off of absolutely embarrassing Jacksonville Jaguars last week. The week before that, he put up a perfect passer rating in Lambeau. The only quarterback to do that besides him is who? Aaron Rodgers. So, give me the Bucs right here. Baker Mayfield's playing out of his mind. Mike Evans, obviously having probably his not best year, but he is having a absolutely phenomenal year for his 10th year in the league.
Yeah. What is this? Going to be 9 seasons in a row with 1,000 yards?
10. He's done it every year.
Every year?
Every single year.
10 seasons in a row with 1,000 yards. That's just stellar wide receiver play.
Oh my God.
I think that the Bucs are definitely going to win this game.
Yeah.
I'd even take them -7, just because I think they have the more solid and put together defense, and their offense just has more weapons. If you lock somebody down, you got Chris Godwin, you got Rashad White.
Rashad White's like the running back 4 in fantasy right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's just playing great ball, especially the last 5-6 weeks. He's been a hot target in the passing game, too, for his checkdowns. Baker Mayfield knows how to hit those, for sure. I like the Bucs -7 just because, I mean, I don't really know what Derek Carr I'm going to get, what Chris Olave I'm going to get. It's a really tight division. They both got something to play for. Baker has more recent playoff experience, so I think he wants to get back there, and I think he's going to win this game.
Yeah. I believe if the Bucks win this game, I think they lock up the NFC South. So at home, it's a shirt and hat game, you know?
Yeah.
Get that shirt, get that hat, say we're division champs, move on to the playoffs, lose to the Cowboys in 2 weeks. I don't know. They actually, if the Cowboys go into Tampa Bay, they might lose that game.
That could be a really close game, yeah.
They might lose that game.
Yeah.
Moving on to your Chicago Bears hosting the Atlanta Falcons, where the Bears are 2.5-point favorites. You want to start it off, or shall I?
Go ahead.
All right. So, obviously, the Bears have been kind of killing it recently. You know, as of recent, they've been on a tear. Justin Fields is saying, "Hey, I'm going to make your job so hard. You know, I'm going to make sure you don't know what to do with me because I've been playing that damn good." And right now, he's auditioning. He's saying, "Who wants me? Because you're going to have to pay me, and you're gonna want me because he's playing stellar. You know, he's hitting Cole Kmet down the side. He's getting DJ Moore all of his throws. He's running like no other. I love everything Justin Fields is doing right now. But the thing that's surprising me the most is that Eberflus has that defense humming. You know, after everything that they've done, after they fired their defense coordinator resigned, or after just all of these things that looked so terrible when you look at week 6 and before, you know, or they started really coming on about week 10.
Yeah.
You know, before that, you could easily say bottom 3 defense, and now they're looking like top 7. You know, I'd give them that. Matt Eberflus has given them a hard decision, saying, "Hey, do you really want to fire me? Because we dealt with adversity and we dealt with it right."
Yeah.
So I love what they're doing right here, and Atlanta is on the other side of the fence where they're doing everything wrong. You know, they've switched quarterbacks how many times now? Between 2 guys, you know, between Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, they can't make a decision to save their lives, and it's not like either one of them is going to save their job. You know, I don't know what the big controversy is. Pick the guy that's been putting up numbers. Pick Ridder. You know, Heineke is a backup. Let's be honest about that.
Yeah.
But he can't use Bijan Robinson to save his life. I mean, he's clearly the best running back on that roster, let alone in the entire NFC South, let alone maybe the entire NFC. Like, he's a fantastic running back.
Yeah.
Why are we not using him? Why are we not using Pitts? Why are we not using Drake London? Arthur Smith, after the past 2 years, I thought, you know what? They've been getting more wins than I expected. Arthur Smith deserves another chance. And this year, he's proven me wrong. And I've been really disappointed, and for that, I'm taking the Bears.
Well, I'm glad you're hopping on the Bears side over here, because I'm taking the Bears as well. I like what you said about Justin Fields auditioning. I think this is the team he's auditioning for.
I agree.
I think Atlanta is probably the number 1 spot to trade for Fields. I mean, they've got, number 4 pick in the draft? So move up to number 1 or whatever, get Justin, or they could get Caleb Williams, or they could trade for Justin Fields. I mean, it's kind of up to Atlanta right now. So I think this is Justin Fields' audition game for Atlanta.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have his best game this season. Atlanta's probably top 16 defense, so they're about middle. They are the highest scoring defense this league, so I mean, it could be a tough matchup for Fields, but I just think that he's playing with a chip on his shoulder, especially these next 2 weeks. He has been the past few weeks. Like you said, he's been running all over the field, making you guess what he's going to do. Even on a couple plays that I saw in the Cardinals, there was one that really stood out to me. It looked like a read option for Fields, but the offensive line was in pass protection. The wide receivers were in pass protection for a bubble screen. Yeah. And he kept the ball and ran for 30 yards. I mean, that's just insane talent from a player like him. I wouldn't take him by a lot, just because we struggle.
2.5-point favorites. So.
We struggle against the pass, but we're top 5 in the league against the run. I think that's going to be the big difference.
Yeah. Defensive
getting turnovers. We've averaged 2-3 a game the past 6 weeks. So I think that's going to be the big difference. Bears win this. I don't see the Falcons winning. I just don't at all for the overall team.
Yeah.
And then going to what you said about Eberflus, or however you say his name, I like him to stay. Because...
Really?
And here's why, yeah. Because he's got the defense on track. He's got a good culture with the team. I saw a video earlier. He's got about a nickname for every player on the field.
I like that.
But your head coach, I would argue that... So some people argue that, the winning record or the winning stat is not a QB stat.
Yeah.
And if your OC is calling plays, I could argue that for the head coach as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you want your head coach to influence the offensive coordinator to make certain calls at certain times and stuff like that.
Right.
But he's a defensive guy. He's got the defense rolling. He's got a good culture. Just because he's not doing so well on offense, I don't think you completely disregard him.
Right.
I think with the right offensive coordinator paired with Eberflus, you have a really good team.
Yeah.
So that's why I like him. I mean, it's only, his second year?
You just got to find a good
second year.
And those are hard to find.
Oh, yeah. And you're not going to get Ben Johnson or whoever because, they're looking for head coaching jobs.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate if they moved on. I wouldn't hate if they kept him. I kind of would like if they kept him just because of what he's built. Last year was a complete teardown, complete roster cut. You can't expect a head coach
you got
to do
about
much with that.
a half a season to make a team gel. And it seems like he took that half season, and the second half of the season, he made him gel.
Yeah. So, I like the Bears all the way. Of course, that's my team, but even thinking non-bias, I still think they squeezed it out. Yeah.
Okay, I like that. All right, the last noon game on the schedule we have here is the Raiders going to the Colts. The Colts are favored. Nope, we already did that one. Panthers at Jaguars. The Jaguars are favored by 6 points.
I don't really like that, just because Trevor Lawrence was ruled out. Beathard's not a great QB.
Is he out?
Yeah, he's ruled out.
Out?
With his shoulder. Yep.
Really?
So Beathard's playing. He's got more experience than Young for sure, but I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Panthers squeezed their fourth win out. It could be possible. The Jags' defense is just not playing super well. They're letting up points. It just really depends on what you get out of Beathard. That's my biggest factor here. Bryce Young put up 30 points against a decent Packers defense. Made it a shootout last week. I think if he plays like that, they could definitely win this game. But I want to take them more than a pick them ±1.
No, yeah, I get that. I got a little nickname for CJ Beathard because of how his name is spelled. I think his name should be CJ Beat Hard because the Panthers are going to beat hard all over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're going to get their third win of the season this week.
Is it their third win? I thought it was their fourth. Are they 3-10?
I believe they've only won 2.
Or 3-11? Whichever. They're getting a win this week.
I think they're getting a win this week against the Jaguars. The Jaguars have been on a very steep decline recently.
Yeah.
And the Panthers, while they haven't been great by any stretch of the imagination, they've been pretty bad the entire year. They've been... I was going to say last week they put up 30 points, but then you combine, the past 2 weeks before that, they put up, a combined 13. But regardless, I feel like Bryce Young has nothing to lose at this point, and they finally started using DJ Chark last week, and he got 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, my God. And he had 2 insane toe taps.
Yeah, so if they can just use their... If they can use their weapons wisely and stop CJ Beathard... is that crazy? Christian Kirk's not in there. Calvin Ridley has not had a great year. Who do they got to stop? Evan Ingram? The Jaguars have not beaten anyone out of the water by any means this year. Ooh, I kind of like the Panthers right now.
I do too. I think they have, at least on paper, their defense is pretty good.
Yeah.
If they can minimize the run game and make Beat Hard throw, that's their way. That's their formula to win this game.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to the 3 o'clock games. This game in particular is very important for NFC and AFC playoff implications. We have the Seattle Seahawks playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Seahawks are at home, and they're 3.5-point favorites. I believe Mason Rudolph is making the start, and so is Geno Smith. As much as it pains me to say, I think the Steelers are going to snag this one. And I'll say that because, obviously, Mason Rudolph, he looked phenomenal last week. Mm-hmm. He looked really damn good on Christmas Eve, and he was showing everybody, hey, maybe I've been the best quarterback on this roster this entire time. Kenny Pickett's been cheeks. Mr. Trubisky, cheeks. Sorry.
That's okay.
Ever since Matt Canada's been fired, and they haven't had a quarterback named Mitchell Trubisky, they've had a 400-yard game and averaging over 25 points. Simple as that. So when you take all those things into account, I mean, you really think, like, the Steelers are kind of on a roll. And there's one thing that I think all of us forgot, is if they win this week, they get a winning record. Because they're not winning next week when they play Baltimore. And Mike Tomlin doesn't have losing records. So that's all I need to hear. Steelers. Steelers, minus 1,000.
Yeah, I think Steelers are going to win this. They have the better defense. Their defensive line, I mean, T.J. Watt, I mean, he's a game changer as well as what I said earlier for Aaron Donald. He doesn't have much help on the defensive line, but he definitely draws the attention to make his other players better. Yeah, Fitzpatrick in the back end, or right?
Minka?
Yeah. Minka in the back end, and I mean, he's a game changer as well, or could be if he's playing on. It's been a shootout for the Seahawks the past 2 weeks. It's come down to their final drive of the game,
and that can't last. You know?
Yeah, that's not gonna last.
I will say one thing they remind me of last year's Seahawks. They're having a great year. Near the end, they just start falling apart. They're that pumpkin rolling in, you know?
Yeah, they get where they need to be.
Cinderella's leaving the ball. That pumpkin starting to turn back into a pumpkin.
Yeah, they get where they need to be, where they have a chance to get into the playoffs, but then in their winning in or must-win games, they underperform. Mm-hmm. I think that's because you have a lot of tape on the Seahawks by this time of the year, but I just want to say that, like, the Seahawks offensive roster and the Browns offensive roster, at least right now with Jake Browning, are pretty similar, where you have a star receiver, Metcalf and Chase. Mm-hmm. Chase is definitely way better, in my opinion. Then you've got Lockett and Higgins, and then you've got JSN and Boyd. Those are very similar 1, 2, 3 receivers.
I agree.
So they're playing basically a matchup that they had last week, and they dominated.
Yeah, I will say, I even if Chase is out the rest of the year.
Is he? That makes, well, I guess not for this game, but
yeah. But I think he might have gotten hurt last game. But regardless, like, it didn't look like they could have done anything.
Yeah.
They scored 11 points. I mean.
And the Browns were hot. Seahawks are hot. Steelers stopped that. I'm looking to stop it again.
Yeah. No, I agree. I will say the Seahawks, just like last year, I mean, they got worse, but, like, also Tariq Woolen got benched last week. Like, literally playing so bad, they were like, you need to take a fucking step back because you're a liability at this point.
Yeah.
And Devin Witherspoon, he's been dealing with injuries off the field. Like, he can't stay on the field. I mean, when you look at all these things, I really think George Pickens, as much as I hate him, and I think he's absolute garbage, I think he's going to win fantasy championships this week.
Yeah.
Flat out.
Yeah.
Next game, we got the Bengals at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 7-point favorites. I agree with that. I expect the Chiefs to have a bounce-back game. The Bengals are the 28th ranked defense in the entire league. And Jake Browning got exposed for what he is, a fraud. The Chiefs, you're not going to keep the Chiefs to 2 touchdowns every week. It's just not going to happen. The Raiders are division opponents. We know how weird division games can get.
Yeah.
Like, how many times have, like, random, like, division games just gone haywire because they play each other twice a year. They know each other. Mm-hmm. They know what's happening. But the Chiefs, they still got Mahomes, and they're playing Browning. Give me the Chiefs. You know, I think Rashee Rice is going to have a really great day against a Woozier. A Woozier. Madden legend.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I think the Bengals can learn something from the Raiders, how they played last week, what coverages they used and stuff against Patrick Mahomes and their wide receivers. Because, I mean, let's face it, Chiefs probably have the worst wide receiver in the room in the league right now. I mean, just drops after drops. Even Kelsey dropping passes. He had 2 last week that should have absolutely been caught, especially from his caliber. I think Chiefs obviously have the better defense. Mahomes needs a bounce-back game. They're still very well in the playoffs, so they need to figure out something. It's a little late in the season to kind of gel, but he's got to lead this team. He's the best player on this team, but I'm just not picking against Mahomes versus a backup quarterback.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And obviously that happened last week, but not 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
No way.
No.
Last game in the early slots, we have the Chargers at the Broncos. The Broncos are 3.5-point favorites. I absolutely agree with that. It's going to be a little not what we expected. Beginning of the year, we expected this to be Justin Herbert versus Russell Wilson, possibly for division stakes, you know. And now we have Easton Stick versus Jarrett Stidham, which is depressing.
Honestly, like you said earlier, with the Ravens, it being a crime they're not in the prime time, it's a crime that Russell Wilson is not playing right now.
Yeah.
He's definitely a top 7 quarterback in the league. 26 touchdowns, less than double-digit turnovers. I think he's only got 8. He's been leading this offense with a very, very minimal run game. He's done everything that Sean Payton has asked him to do, except lower his contract. And that's what got him benched. And I think that's complete horseshit. I think Sean Payton is showing a little bit of his character here, and it's not good.
Yeah.
They're very
Who's
well.
gonna want to play for that?
They're very well in a playoffs potential spot, and you're benching your first string quarterback who's been playing very well. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. And I think for that reason, they're going to take an L.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Chargers have a similar play style or similar game that they did last week, and I think that's enough to beat Jarrett Stidham and the Broncos.
You know, I agree and I disagree with a few of your points. So I absolutely agree. Sean Payton is showing his cards, and I wouldn't want to play for him if I'm a player.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Russell Wilson basically saying, hey, if I get hurt these next 2 games, I'm due $37 million. And they're saying, you know what? You're right. We're going to not play you at all. You can't get hurt. You're going to be a healthy scratch. You're not going to practice. You're not going to do any of that stuff. And it's like, okay, that's not exactly fair by any means.
Yeah.
You know? That's not right. But Russell Wilson, while you said he's a top 7 quarterback in the league, I disagree with that. I disagree because while he has the touchdowns, while he has the completion percentage, while he has some yards, it has been a very dink and dunk offense this entire year. Mm-hmm. He is dead last in the league, including backups, in air yards per attempt. He's not pushing the ball downfield, and it kind of reminds me of those really, really late stage Drew Brees offenses, where Drew Brees just he probably couldn't pass the ball 40 yards. You know, he probably couldn't even throw that far because his arm was just mangled. And Russell Wilson's too young for that, so I don't know why they're making it so conservative of an offense, even with a run game that theoretically should be better. You have Javonte Williams, you have Samaje Perine, you have Jaleel McLaughlin. They're all decent running backs. On the other side, Chargers are missing Keenan Allen. They are missing Mike Williams, obviously. They are potentially missing Josh Palmer. So they'll be trotting out, Quentin Johnston, Jalen Guyton, Gerald Everett, and Easton Stick, with a pretty bad Austin Eckler this year. I'm going to take the Broncos at home, And even though Jared Stidham, he's not gonna. I don't think he's gonna play as well as Russell Wilson. I think he'll have a little more splash play, and I think he'll drive the ball downfield.
Yeah. It's very well a pick-em game.
Oh yeah.
Just you mentioned Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and the wide receiving core being depleted a little bit. Jared Stidham's also entering is this his first or second start? He doesn't have Cortland Sutton.
Cortland Sutton's out.
He has no tight end to throw to. You've got Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Mims, and I don't know who else.
Right.
So I just think those are very equal trades because you've got a good tight end in Evan Ingram for the Chargers. So and then you got a good, decent run game and a pass catching running back out of Austin Eckler. So I think that's going to be the bigger difference. There is Eckler out of the backfield. And I just don't. If they're not stretching the field with Wilson, they're not stretching the field with Stidham. And to have someone who's coming into a game for their first or second start in Dinkin Duncan, I just don't think that's a good game plan. That's why I also like the Chargers.
Okay. I feel that. Last game of the week this week, because there is no Monday night, is Packers at Vikings. They're calling this one straight up pick'em. Even territory. The Vikings right now trotting out Jaron Hall, and the Packers obviously Jordan Love. I believe Justin Jefferson is playing this week. I believe Jordan Addison's out though.
I'm not sure.
I believe Jordan Addison's out. So it looks like they have KJ Osborne. Hawkinson is out for the year as he tore his ACL, MCL. And their running game is non-existent. As for the Packers, their running game has been non-existent the entire year as well. Even though Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon have the name value, they haven't really done anything with it. But the Packers do have a set of young wide receivers whom I actually believe in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it pains me to say it, but I mean, Jaden Reed has been playing well. Romeo Doubs has been stepping up. Christian Watson been dealing with injuries, but I mean, he's still a really good wide receiver.
Even their number 4, Wicks, has been surprisingly very good, and their tight end Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, he's definitely top 3 rookie tight ends in my opinion. Sam Laporta, Trey McBride, and then Tucker Kraft.
Trey McBride. Ooh. All right, we're good, guys. I believe Trey McBride is second year.
Is he second year?
Second or third year. He's been around for a while actually.
Okay.
But he's up there for sure.
Yeah. But they've got a young. They're playing for something still. They could still sneak in the 7th seed, just like the Bears do. They have a better scenario than the Bears do. Bears need the Vikings to win this game. I just don't think they have it with Jaron Hall. Now that you said Jordan Addison is out, I mean that takes away one less weapon. I just don't see them pulling it away. I mean Packers are putting up points per game, at least 25, I think. So I think they win this. I take them -4.
Yeah. I do think the Packers win this game as well. The Vikings, I don't know enough about Jaron Hall. He had one drive before he got that one concussion, and then Josh Dobbs Mania took over.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. But in that drive, he did look pretty good. I believe he went like 6 for 9 for pretty decent yardage, and I don't know what happened with the touchdown. I think he might have thrown it, or Josh Dobbs came in right before, but he had a great drive. Aside from that, we don't know anything about him, except for he's a 5th-round rookie, and 5th-round rookies tend to not do great. So I'm going to go with the Packers, even though their defense has been awful. I mean, what's his name? Jair Alexander is out this game because he is suspended because he is an idiot.
He false captained.
he just walked up and he's like, I'm a captain. And then did you see after the game they interviewed him? And they were like, so did you know that you weren't a captain? He was like, oh, well, the guys had my back. And it's like, what? What does that mean? And they're like, yeah, but did you know that you messed up? He's like, what do you mean I messed up? Because he was about to give them the ball for first half and second half. He said, we want defense instead of defer. And then they They obviously suspend him, and he goes on record saying something along the lines of, "Well, they knew I was from Charlotte." That doesn't make a difference, dude. Just because you're from there doesn't mean that you're a captain all of a sudden.
Right.
So, I don't know. Dude's off his rocker, but he's a good player, but obviously it's
going to be a big loss for the Packers this week, especially with the defense not gelling.
Especially with Justin Jefferson on the other side.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. That wraps up all of our picks this week, all of our football talk for week 17. Only 2 more weeks left in this NFL regular season before we cut everyone down to 14 teams and only talk about the top 14.
I can't believe this season has gone by so fast. I wouldn't say it's been like a lackluster season, but it's been very, very competitive.
It's been a competitive season. I feel like it's mellowed out. It's mediumed out almost. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are struggling. A lot of backup quarterbacks. It's going to be an exciting playoffs.
I agree.
Exciting next 2 weeks. Anything else you want to say?
No, I'm good.
Awesome. Well, we will catch you next time. Follow us on Twitter, YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, and we will catch you next week.
See ya.